that was probably the most difficult day there because we were listening on the radio to all this shit going on, and we were, 30 clicks away at another fob, like going, fuck.
Rolling. What's up, Luke?
Not much.
Thanks for being here, brother. Appreciate it.
Man. Thank you for having me.
Let's just start out. Just introduce yourself and talk to me a little bit about where you're from and your upbringing.
My name is Luke Hamilton. I'm actually from, down the street, San Antonio, Texas. Born and raised until I went into the Marine Corps. I had a pretty... my childhood was basically spent outdoors. So
Okay.
I didn't really... All I did was go outside from sun up to sundown, basically. I was kind of free to do whatever I wanted, which was bad because I didn't really have a father figure. He was around, but he wasn't a father. But I would and I had a couple of neighborhood friends that lived houses away, so I was just outside 100% of my time. Almost was outside as a child, just roaming.
Yeah.
You can't really do that these days anymore with your kids. It's not safe, but back then, in the 90s, early 90s, it was great. We were just outside, could do whatever we wanted. It's kind of crazy to think about now because we were, young and pretty much no rules, man. Rules. We just kind of were menaces to society.
Yeah.
And not really knowing what society was yet,
Right. So your dad, your dad was there, but was he like a working man? Was he gone or what was that?
He never stopped partying out of college, or I guess high school. He probably drank every day of his life from when he was probably, low 20s to he died. And he had medical conditions that he shouldn't have been doing really anything on, but drinking didn't really even kill him. He had a brain tumor. It was non-cancer. There was no cancer in it or anything, so they removed it. And then he didn't follow doctor protocol, diet, do this, do that. You won't, probably won't come back. And he just continued to live the way he lives, and it came back and eventually killed him. But he was never really, he took us, I have memories of doing stuff with him, but it wasn't really, it was just kind of going through the motions type thing.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
I guess that's how you put it.
When did he pass away?
He actually passed away when I was on an op in 2000, not an op, a fucking rotation, when I was contracting in 2015, I think, 2015.
Okay. Well, sorry to hear about your dad, man.
It is what it is. He wasn't really ever, he was my dad, but he never really was my dad. So
Right, yeah.
I have feelings for him, but it's never really anything.
Right.
Never really been anything to me,
Right.
honestly.
Right. So what inspired you to join the military?
I think it was the being outside as a kid. We were always pretending we were fucking, special forces growing up, like as, 8-year-olds run through the bushes, but I just, ever since my earliest memories are me pretending like I was in the military doing shit. And I've always always as a kid, loved guns, loved firearms. Like when I say love, I don't know, they're like artwork to me. Like guns are like artwork to me.
And can you tell us just what branch of service you chose to go in, and maybe
say that?
Yeah, why you chose that branch? I
joined the Marine Corps, and I just that was the one to join. That was what they told me to join. They're like, if you're gonna go in the military and you want to go fight, join the Marine Corps. And I was like, all right. Funny story. I actually told, the days of going to the recruiter. The first time I went by myself. The second time, my mom was like, I'm going with you. So she came with me. My mom's a great woman, but she came with me. And we actually had a story fabricated that she thought I was going to be a tanker, like in a tank,
right.
Not too dangerous, because this was full on Iraq at war time and blah, blah, blah. So she thought, the first thing she thought for like the first probably, I think she didn't know until I went to my unit. So like she thought I was going to be in tanks all through boot camp, all through SOI. She didn't know. And then I told her, and then she figured I was a sniper before. Like I didn't tell her much because I didn't want to. She worries, how moms do. She worries and worries, and I don't want to put any more stress on her. So I just tried to keep it in the dark, but it didn't. Yeah, didn't last.
What job did you get to pick your job when you joined?
I picked 0311.
Okay.
Straight up, you made it. But yeah, 0311. I had that was just what I thought I was going to do. I was going to be an infantryman, a grunt. And then it just, the timing of me getting to my unit and having, and those couple weeks of time before my unit had gotten back from the rotation, I was able to link up with a sergeant that came over from another unit who was going to be head of the sniper platoon, and he trained a handful of us to join and do the in-doc. But yeah, it was just a lucky timing thing that led me to become try out for the in-doc for the sniper platoon.
Okay, so you joined the infantry, and you get, where was your first duty station?
29 Palms, California.
29 fucking stumps, huh?
These stumps.
Talk to me about what's the process like to becoming a sniper in the Marine Corps?
It's really, well, first off, you have to have qualifications out of boot camp, and so you have to have first class rifle score, first class PFT. What's the third one? Oh, ASVAB over GT score over 100 is the third one. If you have those three, you can go to the NDOC. I wouldn't say it's really like there's not really much to doing those types of MOSs. There's a lot to them, but in order to be successful in them, there isn't much to it other than to be forward moving, really, and have a forward moving mentality, and to have the will to never stop, basically.
Right.
There's really no special, I don't think there's really no special juice or sauce to it. It's just having that mentality. It's a mentality more than anything else.
Right.
And the heart to want to do what you're doing, not just want to get the t-shirt.
Yeah.
And those guys get, in those MLS fields, those type of guys get weeded out fairly quickly because they don't want to be there.
Right.
You have to want to do it.
Yeah, they just want to wear the fucking cool shit.
Yeah. They wanted a beanie or a shirt or hoodie or whatever you want.
Right. Well, but you do have to go through a course, right? It's sniper school.
Yeah, you go through an in-doc. So the unit, the snipers in that unit will put on an in-doc. It's just like a week-long little haze fest. They just they push you how far you can go. They sleep deprive you. They don't give you food. They just fuck with you. It's just like it just prepares you for the fuckery to come, basically, on the path of being a sniper. But did the NDOC, passed it, and then luckily I was a PFC at the time, and me and one other guy were selected to go to Scout Sniper School as PFCs, and you can't go to sniper school as a PFC. You have to be a Lance Corporal. So I got hastily promoted, another timing thing, and me and this other PFC, straight boots, didn't have a fucking fuck all clue what we were gonna, what we were getting into, really. We kind of did because we were spending time with the platoon as is, but it's two boots going to sniper school, and we went to sniper school, passed. Sniper school was in Camp Pendleton, California. And it was 3 month long. I was the last sniper class to go through the course before they changed it, basically. It went from I think it went from 13 weeks to 9 weeks or something. And that's when they changed the MOS from 8541 to 0317. And that was in 2007 and 8, right there, right when December 2007, January 2008 is right when that happened.
So I hear sniper course is one of the hardest schools to pass in the Marine Corps. What do you think about that? How was it for you?
I would say mountain sniper in February is harder to pass than SSBC, than Scout Sniper Basic course, honestly.
Yeah.
Scout Sniper School is, like I said, it's a mentality. If you want it, it's not hard. Honestly, it's not hard if you just if you want it. If you want to be there, if you want to be doing that, if you can see the vision in front of you and what you want, if you want that, then it's not. I mean, it's really not hard. It's just doing what you're told.
Yeah,
really nothing that anyone can't do. It's just a matter of wanting it.
Well, I just heard a lot of people drop out during the stalking phase.
Stalking was probably one of the harder phases. I almost failed because I couldn't draw field sketches. I almost failed and got dropped because I think my average was 72, and I think they gave me cushion, but I almost failed for not being able to draw.
Holy shit!
That would have sucked. I would have had to come back and work on my drawing skills. But yeah, I almost failed because that was the closest thing that probably that I almost had to come back for. Stalking for me was more after learning how to stalk and what the basics of stalking are and what what you're trying to accomplish. It's a game and it's a lot of fun. It's even more fun to probably do it to an enemy, but I never really got to stalk anybody, unfortunately. Not that type of stalking. But
Right.
stalking's a great tool to have in the toolbox, and it's great to learn. It's great to put yourself through because it takes a lot of discipline and a lot of decision making. You have to make really,
Yeah.
if you make the wrong decision, you bust it. So
A lot of patience, huh?
patience, patience is a lot.
So you get done with the sniper course. Where do you go from there?
Graduated graduated sniper school December 18th, I think, 2007. And then we were deployed to hit Iraq January 8th, 2008. So just a couple weeks later, we deployed.
Yeah.
So now I went to hit Iraq.
Now, did you go over? Were you part of a MEU? Did you go over?
No, we just flew right over.
Just flew right over.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right into, what was it? What's the big airport there? Al Asad.
Yeah.
Al-Assad Airport.
Yeah. Talk to me about that deployment, man. What was it like?
That
for you?
deployment, honestly, it was kind of boring. I hated it because it was boring. And the reason I joined the Marine Corps is to go to war. And the war seemed over by the time we got there. I mean, there was a little IED interdiction here and there, a couple skirmishes, really small gunfights, but like very little just boringness. But what that did is prepared me for my Afghan deployment. And I really have my Iraq deployment. I mean, there's really nothing.
Yeah.
Shitty. It was hot as fuck because I was there all summer, and the missions we were running, the movements were pretty brutal, and it kind of just let me get a pros and cons list in my head of how things should be running on missions.
Yeah.
And then we came back from that. I think that was a 10-month deployment, and then we came back from that. And then again came back from that and it was just all at school.
Yeah. What kind of things would you guys do to pass the boredom out there in Iraq, like during your downtime or?
Stare at the wall. We had, luckily, being in the sniper platoon, we had access. We could shoot kind of quite a bit because if we don't shoot, then our weapons can't trust them. So we got to shoot quite a bit. The gym. I mean, that's. In the Marine Corps, on that first deployment, is kind of when I started hitting the gym, basically. Mm-hmm. And that was another, probably, if you weren't prepping or cleaning your gear or cleaning your weapon. We also had those little portable DVD players. And then we got, the $5 burn DVD that you see the people walking in front of the screen.
Yeah.
Those. A couple guys had laptops with Super Mario games.
Oh, shit.
With Sorry, not Super Mario, Super Nintendo games with the actual controllers you could plug into the laptop.
Yeah.
So we've had some what is it? What's the go-kart one?
Oh, Mario Kart.
Mario Kart. We had some Mario Kart
that was a
days.
fucking fun game.
Fuck
dude.
yeah, but then snipers were always hounded. All the higher-ups hated snipers. I don't know why, they just do. I guess a lot of butthurt, a lot of feelings probably. But you always have that risk. So you can't really get too crazy because if you do, they'll come. Why the fuck are y'all playing video games? Y'all should be, trimming your fucking mustache hairs.
You get too comfortable, people fucking find shit for you to do. Yeah, fuck. I need a
Police
working party. So you come back, and then how much time? What was the time gap before you were in Afghanistan?
And I was in Afghanistan by October 2009.
Okay. And what was that? Talk to me about that deployment, man. What was Afghanistan like?
Afghanistan, from coming from Iraq, where it's mainly flat and really nothing, then flying into where you're going to be, running missions, it's pretty fucking humbling. You're like, fuck. Like the size, sheer scale, like it doesn't look like, it's this world almost. You don't really see, unless you're from like, Yellowstone or some shit, but you don't, it's just otherworldly basically, and you're just really humbled by the fucking sheer size of mountains, and we were just in the foothills too. We weren't even in the big, up north really. We were in the foothills of the Hindu Kush in the northern mid Helmand, but it was crazy to see. And then flying in was pretty gnarly because it was all combat landings, even in the chopper, so it was crazy descents. I never had a fear of flying as a kid. I'd always loved flying. The Marine Corps ruined that due to the Afghan deployment because of the helo experiences I had. But yeah, Afghanistan's a different animal than Iraq. Different animal as far as terrain and people.
Yeah. What kind of what kind of helo experiences did you have?
Sandstorms. Being in sandstorms. Just being in an Osprey is terrible. Being an Osprey at night is even more terrible. And just hearing about all the crashes. I mean, you hear about a crash once a week over there, especially on all the Ospreys, and you're having to get on them all the time. I was actually on an ARF team, an aerial reaction force team, for about a month, flying around and they were new at the time. It was the new Yankee. It was a Huey, but it was a Yankee. It was the one with the Cobra engine, the 4-prop instead of the 2, very maneuverable. And those fucking asshole pilots, not asshole, but if it was boring, they would fuck with you, and they would map the earth. They'd go straight up, and you'd just be floating in the cabin. And they're doing all this as you've been in there for 2 hours holding your pee, and you got to piss real bad. It wasn't always like that, but they also contributed to my fear of flying now because of the shit they did.
Man.
And one of them was a female. It was a female pilot, and she was probably the craziest one. And we would, not to get weird, but it was month 5 or 4 or 5 into deployment, and walking up to the pads, the helo pads, to get on. You could tell it was going to be her because you could smell her from 200 yards away, get a whiff of her perfume, be like, oh, she's flying today. It's I'm not getting in hers. I'll be the follow today. I'm not getting in her fucking ride.
Isn't that fucking crazy? Because you're used to the fucking smell, and
dude, you're used to how bad you stink. You don't even smell how bad you stink, but if you smell something slightly that smells good, it's oh wow, and it honestly triggers a lot. And it is also nice just to smell like a woman's smell. It's oh fuck. Remember, okay.
Your wife's gonna see this and say, "You were smelling other women from Afghanistan."
What are you talking about? Yeah, that's fine.
So, was Afghanistan a little less boring for you?
Very less boring. Almost every mission was. It's actually hard to think of a mission we ran and there wasn't some incident. So,
yeah.
A lot of call for fire. A lot of call for fire. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you recall the first time you got into some heavy contact?
Yes, our very first. We were ripping with Hawaii unit. God, we were ripping with them. I forgot the unit. What's a Hawaii unit? 3-2.
Yeah, it's 3 something.
3-2 maybe. It was a Hawaii unit. We were ripping with them. It was day 2 after we'd been there. We were going to go out on a mission with them. They had intel because they'd already been there for months, and they had a bunch of intel. But they were man, it's been pretty boring. A lot hasn't happened in the past. It was winter. It was heavy winter when they were there. We showed up, and it was still weather was pretty nice. Mm-hmm. But our first op with them, we were in a place called Golistan, and the only way to get there was either airdrop or the log trains would have to come up this huge wadi, it was a 2-hour up a wadi. You have to go real slow. And there was a bunch of IEDs always going off in this one particular area. Mm. And there's a wadi, village along the wadi, and then there's a big range behind that ran the whole stretch of, and our mission was to see if we could go out there 2 days before the log train, try to find guys putting IEDs or whatever, just get intel, find what's going on, whatever. Insert first mission kicked my ass. I never mentioned, but my back's bad. I had a bad back before the deployment too. In that first mission, I walked point. I was point man for my team. But my back started going out. I was fuck already. It was literally an hour into the first mission. I was and I was my teammate. I was called him up. I was dude, I gotta sit down for a second. It's seizing, like, and at that point I was like, if this is gonna cause me to leave this, I was just dead, like, in my mind, I was freaking the fuck out. Sat there for a few minutes and just started going again, and pain went away. Fuck it. Went through it. Pain's gone. But first mission, we're set up. Log train, we were already there a couple days, haven't seen shit. Log train's starting to come up. Log train takes heavy, heavy contact. Like machine gun fire, mortars, RPGs. And we're just like, holy fuck. The mission's panning out exactly as it should. And it's a log train, enemy in a village, and we're behind them. And they have no idea we're behind them, basically. The gunfight starts, and it takes us like, I mean, we're 500 to 700 yards away from this, elevated. So we're looking down, and we see the log train returning fire. We cannot spot them though. We're like, fuck, where the fuck are they? And it felt like forever. It felt like fucking 30 minutes had gone by before we found them. Finally, we spotted them, spotted a team here, spotted a team there, and started engaging them. And what I think they thought is the log train was shooting at them, and all of them started falling back into us, basically. So it was honestly the best mission you could ask for as a sniper, basically. You have guys that have no idea where you are, engaging a target who they think they're shooting at, but they're falling back into your position, basically, and you're at an elevated position. So it was devastating for them. No K in the convoy, but I think it was 12K for them. One lived, but he had taken... This guy lived. I think he got shot by all three of our weapon systems. He got shot by a 5.56 through the hand. He got shot by a 308 through the bicep, and then he got shot by a 50 cal through the hip, but it went through soft. It didn't hit any bone or anything, so the Rofus didn't engage. The Rofus round, the exploding rounds, didn't go off, so it just went through and through, but it completely pulled his butt cheeks off, or his butt cheek off. He had to get amputated from the hip, basically, amputate the hand, and I think before we left for that deployment, they had put him back in that village as an example to be like, hey, don't fuck around, idiots. This is what happens.
Oh,
so that was the first. That was our first mission, and the guys, the Hawaii guys were so fucking pissed off because they're like, wow, you guys, we've been doing this exact same mission for 3 months, whatever it was, and the first time you guys come out with this, it fucking happens, and they were pretty pissed off, and then went home. Wow. But that was the first mission was very eye opening, and it was like it really made it like real, like, oh, this is fucking war, this is fucking combat.
Yeah. When the guy that got shot with the 50 cal, did you guys end up having to treat him?
We did treat him, and we thought he was gonna die, man, because we were an hour and a half away from the fob, and he was in bad shape. Like, we treated him somewhat there as best we could. I mean, we have, docs, they can do what they do, but 3 gunshot wounds, a 50 cal wound, like, there's not really much. You can wrap him, give him an IV, but there's not really much we can do. So we put him in the back of the 7-ton. He started praying, so we're like, oh, he's done. He's probably not going to make it. And he actually ended up making it the whole way up there. And then they had a triage team there where we were, and they operated on him, gave him a fast 1, which is, if you don't know what that is, it's an 8-needle prong that goes into your sternum. It's pressed, and it shoots directly into your sternum, and basically is the fastest way to get fluids into your body. Gave him one of those, and then they got him stable, and they sent him to Bagram or wherever that big Leatherneck maybe, I don't know. But they put him back. Like I said before, our end of the deployment, he was back in his village.
Oh, shit, man. So would you say that mission right there did that give you the perspective of like, okay, we're fucking in combat?
Yeah. That turned on the gas. That was like, all right, we ain't fucking around. There is not a mission where I'm going to be complacent. This shit's fucking real. Unlike Iraq, where it was like, this again, like, I hate to say it, there was times of complacency in Iraq, but in Afghanistan, there was you couldn't afford to be complacent or you'd die.
Yeah. Did you lose any friends when you were out there?
We lost some Marines that I knew pretty well, personal friends, like guys in my platoon. No KIAs for us. We did have, what made our deployment pretty crazy as well was the the first month we were there, one of our teams, which is six guys at the time, so a significant amount of guys. I think it was like second mission. The point man stepped on an ID in a enclosed like the compound, and basically that whole team had to go home. WMPT Josh Sweeney stepped on it, and then it took out basically the whole team with shrapnel. A couple guys lost, partial limbs. Some guys took stuff to the face.
But
Wasn't a good day. We were listening to it on the radio. That was probably the hardest day. That was probably the most difficult day. That was probably the most difficult day there because we were listening on the radio to all this shit going on, and we were, 30 clicks away at another fob, like going fuck, and yeah, it wasn't a good day. And then the CAT team that went out to pick up our sniper team hit an IED on the way out. They dismounted, and then one of their guys, Cody Stanley, a driver, stepped on an IED and basically blew everything off besides what was in his Kevlar. Then they had to send out another team. It was just a fucking shitty day. It was like a fucking 8-hour-long process. The doc kept Josh Sweeney alive. Like I said, he was a double amputee above the knee. I think Doc I think he got a Silver Star for keeping him alive. I can't confirm that, but I think he got Bronze or Silver Star for keeping Josh alive. But that hurt because it took out a whole team. So now, instead of 4 sniper teams supporting 1,000 Marines, a Marine battalion, there's only 3 sniper teams supporting the whole fucking battalion. So I was never really in a place longer than like 45 days. It was just living out of rucksack from fucking, moon dust camp to moon dust camp.
Wow. So when you're running these missions, how does it work being on a sniper team? Because you're attached to a unit, right?
Yeah, we're usually attached to a platoon. In Afghanistan, it was usually attached to a platoon or maybe 2 platoons, and we would work directly with their higher ups, their officers, and so just support them mainly. If we weren't supporting them on missions as like Overwatch or supporting them as going out to a location where they're going to be 2 days prior and just watching the area, giving them intel as much as we can. If we weren't doing that, we were just doing surveillance type stuff, surveillance, kind of ID, interdiction. But yeah, we just support the grunts, man. We're there for the grunts, and that's why we are there.
Yeah. Did you have any close calls?
Plenty. That first mission we got shot back at, but honestly, it could have been the convoy shooting at us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it easily could have been the convoy shooting at us. There was a moment in time where we could actually see a guy see us. It noticed us, like probably saw dust coming up from we had 2 Barretts going off, so there's going to be some debris flying.
Right.
At one point, there was, I think, one of the Taliban guys with a belt fed. I specifically remember seeing him like on like a hay bale, like a wheelbarrow hay bale with a belt fed pointed at us. But even after the fact of that, we still took some more rounds, and it could have been a boot on a gun in the convoy because they're just motor T guys. I mean, nothing against them, but they just don't. They're trigger happy, They don't really confirm anything before they pull the trigger. They don't have that in their head.
It's just, hey, there's movement. Get online and let's fucking blast.
Correct.
Yeah. Wow, man. How long were you guys out there in Afghanistan?
We got there in October, left in May, I think. So what is that? November, December, January, February,
7 months or so.
Yeah, 7-8 months.
Yeah.
I think it was May. Maybe it was July. I don't know. But yeah.
Did it stay pretty active like that the whole time?
Yeah, it was active. Like I said, I don't remember a time where we went out and it was boring or there wasn't an incident. It was just completely different. The mindset, I look back at it now, it's like the older I get, the crazier it gets. Like looking back at that time, the older I get, I'm like, what in the fuck? I was 21 years old. It's just crazy to think back. Because it really doesn't feel like this life, honestly. When I look back, I'm like, it was a different...
Yeah.
Just wasn't even myself,
Right.
I mean, I was myself, but it was the mindset was so completely different than what it is today.
Yeah. Was there anything out there that like kept you going, kept you with the positive mindset to move forward? Like one example would be fucking getting mail or something, you know, like.
I don't know. I didn't really give a shit about mail.
No, you didn't?
Some of the food, yeah, but I mean.
Well, were you married out there? Or were you just single
No, I
out
was
there?
single, man.
Okay.
I was single.
Okay.
What kept me looking forward, man, I don't know. I think I was just like being so close to dying all the time. It kept me looking forward. It's like, God, I don't want this to feel like I'm gonna die every day. Like I want to feel what it feels like not to feel like this again. Like being so close to like death and fucking destruction. I don't know. It humbles you. It makes you like. There's no time. I don't know how to put it, but yeah, being close to death for an extended period of time will make you appreciate life way more, I guess. I don't know. And I was looking for that appreciation again. Like, I hope I do make it through this day so I get to appreciate being back home now.
What are some of the things that you thought about that you appreciated back home while you're out there?
Back then, just getting fucked up with my boys, you know?
Right,
shooting guns and shit. But yeah, it was the return to America to feel what I knew. The only thing I did know before the military, which was, you know, the freedom of America, how, you know, blessed it is to be just born here, you know?
Right, yeah.
So it was more so, getting that feeling back rather than, or looking forward to getting that feeling back.
Yeah.
Is what kind of kept me going like, all right, well, you can't stop time. I'm here till then, so I'll just, it is what it is till then. Like,
yeah.
So.
No, I tell everybody, man, I remember being out there in Iraq and I used to pray like, hey, this just.
Yeah, getting religious.
Yeah. And I never used to pray or nothing, and I used to pray.
I don't either. And there was a couple times where I was like, fuck, I started praying. I don't know who to, but there's times where like in my head I was like, well, I'll make peace in my head real quick. Yeah, there was definitely times where I got religious. I mean, I was raised Catholic, but I never really was, I'm not a religious person. I believe in a higher, you know, power, but I'm not a religious. I don't really pray. I pray for, you know, maybe family, relatives I'll pray for, but I'm not a religious person. But there was times I found myself very religious.
Yeah, for sure. I remember thinking like, if you could just get me back to the United States, I don't give a fuck if I'm homeless for the rest of my life as long as I'm there.
That was what kind of that's why I wanted to go back.
Right, right.
Or that's what kind of got me through my days was like, I'll be an American again at some point. So.
Yeah. Any other stories from Afghanistan that stand out to you?
I mean, they're pretty much, they're kind of endless. There was just like Afghanistan. I wouldn't say the stories. It's more so Afghanistan, or just I guess deploying to war. I really think makes your life easier afterwards. Makes life way easier in a sense. Now it also could complicate shit, but in a sense, it's a very for me now. I'm very humbled and I'm very. I'm not mad. There's no. Nothing can be wrong, basically, you know?
Right. Because it's hard to get in a worse scenario than you've already been.
There's not a scenario in the United States, well, there could be, but there's no way that you know, we're in the land of the free, so.
It would take a lot to get to that.
That would have to be significant. The world would have to be going to shit, but, yeah.
So how long did you stay in the Marines?
2006, got out 2010.
Okay. And so you come back from Afghanistan. How long before you made the transition out?
So I got out, let's see, I think I got out in September. I think we got back in either May or June. So a couple months. And then I was back and I was out.
So talk to me about what that transition was like. I know earlier we were talking before this interview and you're saying you got into the contracting world, so it wasn't much of a transition, but what was it like going from the government sector to like the private sector essentially?
we just got paid way more to do a way easier job. Yeah, it was fucking great. It was great because I was young. All I knew was Marine Corps, the shittiest equipment, the bullshit. But I had plans to do this because there was guys that I was in contact with that trained me that got out and were contracting. So I already knew the whole contracting gig was there. And at the time, I was like, "You're making $1,000 a day, man. $750 a day, you know."
Yeah.
And then I got out and already was prepped. I didn't know. I just had applied to like all of them. I mean, at the time there was like 5 or 6 different contracting companies. Triple Canopy and Blackwater being the biggest ones. That was right when Blackwater was going through their little fucking crisis. So I got hired by Triple Canopy. I think I got hired like in March or something. March of 2010, or no, March of 2011. So like 7 months after I got out of the Marine Corps, 6 months after I got out of the Marine Corps, I was already training to go back over to Iraq.
Was the lifestyle different?
Lifestyle was very different. We had way more privacy. You had your own rooms. You had a shower. You had fucking running water. You had chow hall. It was complete. It was honestly vacation for a guy my age doing what I was doing at the time. It was fucking vacation. We could go to the range. We got adrenaline rush every day from going out. You know, It was fucking great.
Yeah.
And getting paid heaps of money and you're used to making $2,000 a month as a corporal in the Marine Corps. So.
Yeah. Did you get into some shit contracting like?
Never directly. We never really directly got engaged or anything contracting. There was a lot of shit happening. A few teams got hit. The Army that was there at the time when I was working for Department of State at the time. What was the new big latest and greatest thing the fucks were using was those directional IEDs with the directional. It was basically like a big cannon.
Yeah.
And they were using those, and they were fucking killing a lot of the Army guys coming in and out of BIOP, which is our main route. Like that's what we drove most was Route Irish from the green zone to BIOP. Just picking up and dropping everybody. There was a time where 3 or 4 Humvees had been hit by these directional IEDs where we would drive by every day. And we were like, why aren't they fucking hitting us? And I think it's because they weren't sure if it was Americans in it or not. Like, because everybody drove, a lot of contractors, even locals drove those Suburbans over there. They weren't really, so I guess it was just kind of because they were guaranteeing getting a hit, an American casualty rather than not knowing. But there's some definitely butt-puckering moments over there. In the green zone, I mean, rockets attacks are pretty standard thing, probably a few a week. Rocket attacks. There was a bunch of stuff, close calls with like Ramadan time period. There was a lot of crazy shit always going on during those times.
Yeah.
Bullets coming through your hooch because there's literally automatic guns going off in the city all night, just shooting in the air. Fuck. And you wouldn't feel comfortable, man, because we were in tin cans, and then you'd hang out in the bunkers here and there. But never really close calls, just more so enjoyment, honestly. It was great. It was a fucking awesome job.
Yeah.
Other than working for Department of State while Hillary was in charge. It was pretty terrible. Shitty.
When contractors do get into some shit out there, does the military support, or are you guys on your own?
They don't really. They act like we're not even there.
Yeah, basically. That's what I hear.
Now, if we're like, if we have if we have someone from the embassy with us, then yeah, we'd probably get all the support we wanted. If we were just out like a CAT team or something, some route clearance team or whatever, the advanced team, they probably wouldn't do shit, honestly. Being a contractor was hard to go from Marine to contractor because Marines are offensive. If we get shot at, we run towards it. Contracting is opposite. If you get shot at, you're just trying to get the fuck out, basically.
Okay. And how long did you do that for?
I worked for Triple Canopy for 2 years and then transitioned from Triple Canopy to SOC Special Programs, working on OGA contract, which was even better than the Triple Canopy contract.
And then, so I'm curious, I know we mentioned it earlier, but Did any of this stuff ever catch up to you? You know, your experience in Iraq, your experience in Afghanistan, and then contracting. You know, did any of that catch up to you? And what I mean by that is there's a lot of vets that, you know, they turn into adrenaline junkies. And when
Correct.
they get that downtime and when you should be relaxed in a calm, relaxed environment, is really when you start to fucking get all that anxiety, where an average person will go to war and get that fucking anxiety. You know what I mean? So, did it affect your mental health at all?
Short answer, yes. But I feel like mentally, I'm very comfortable with how I handle what it has done. You know what I guess that's how to explain it. Like,
you're able to manage it.
Yeah, I can manage
Very
it,
well.
or I have been able to. So there's been a couple times where I've been like by myself outside. Like sometimes there was a moment. I used to live in a condo in like these like white brick buildings, and I was walking my dog, and it was like 9 at night, and there was like dogs barking, and it was kind of low light. There was a couple street lights on, but I like vividly felt myself walking down the street in Iraq that I can remember that we would patrol down all the time, and I fucking could have sworn I was there just because it was like the perfect timing of like dogs barking, the lighting, like the noise, and I was just like, I kind of was like, wait, oh yeah, my fucking dog's right here, all right. Yeah. But it was kind of fucking eerie. It was like strange feeling that, and that's just a stupid example. I mean, having that is very rare, I think, for most people. Like having those feelings where you're like, oh shit, like you can't really decipher which is which. But I feel like, yeah, I can kind of cope and handle what it has done, and I just it more so humbles me than anything. Yeah, it's calming almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you miss the military?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was actually talking about it last night, like missing it. So.
Yeah. What do you miss most about it?
The rush, man.
Yeah.
That feeling, I guess not a rush. It's just the feeling of, I don't know, God, possibly dying. I don't know. I don't know how to put it.
The camaraderie.
My brothers, yeah. And that's kind of what helped me. I think helped me transition was going from military, the contracting world, not just straight into the civilian world, because the contracting world was a little more lax in the military. You're dealing with a lot of civilians, so like it kind of cushioned. I think it cushioned me into transition into the civilian world, but that still wasn't easy. I was still like, what the fuck? How is this? How does everybody operate? Like this is ass backwards than I'm used to.
Yeah.
You know, just the definitely were times of struggle, but the contracting thing. I contracted for 5 years, and that kind of like cushioned me into the civilian world as well.
Nice. So what do you do now?
I own a custom gun shop here in San Antonio. I do custom full built firearms, and yeah, we do anything firearms related. We do platings, coatings, milling, laser engraving, complete builds. Like I said, there's nothing really we don't do.
Nice.
At our shop. Yeah.
What's your company called?
Cinemass Fabrications.
Nice, man. Yeah. Awesome. And how could people find you? Got a website and all that? Or?
Website, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit. We're on all of them. If you just Google Cinemass, it'll probably and it's SINNER MASS, like a play on words of center mass. Because I was a sniper, we all aim center mass, so we just did it like Sinner's Church, basically.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Cool, man. We're getting ready to wrap it up. But you know, before I do, any last words? Maybe some advice for vets getting out, how to prepare, transition, or whatever the fuck you want to say before we cut the tape.
Man, I would just, I don't know, the biggest. I'm trying to think of something useful to provide, but I would say just. Let's see. Something useful.
Well, let me just say, from doing so many of these interviews so far, what a common theme seems to be vets. They transition out and they're used to all this adrenaline and going on these missions, or not even necessarily combat, but you know, you're always doing some shit. You're working up for a deployment. You go on deployment. You do this. You're getting promoted. You're re-enlisting. You're changing whole assignments, and then they come out and that stops. You know what I mean? And then they're like, you know, you come out and it almost feels like no, you know, the majority of the world doesn't give a fuck about what you did. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you could go to fucking apply for a fucking post office. You don't got fucking, if you don't got experience licking fucking envelopes, I don't give a fuck that you were a fucking sniper. You don't know how to lick an envelope. Yeah. So it's shit like that. But what vets do, they you know, what I've noticed a common theme is they'll sink down in depression.
Yeah, it's very easy to go that route and fall into that hole. All I think that is when guys, it's mental. You have to mentally overcome that feeling of not, you know, being appreciated. Like, that's something I've realized a lot opening a business is like, you can do great things but no one gives a fuck. Like, no one cares. Like, for me, I just put my head down and do what I do, and I don't care what people think. I don't care if I get a pat on the back. Obviously, it's nice to get a fucking pat on the back, but I don't care and this can go back to, because the reason I don't care is because look how great it is just around me. Like, I'm in America, I have the sun shining, I have my legs. Like, why is there a reason to, you know, make this time shitty because I'm sad in my, like, just change your attitude, change your mentality. Right.
Yeah. Awesome, brother. Well, appreciate you being here, Luke. Thanks for taking the seat, man.
Appreciate you guys, man.
Thank you.
Push it to the limit, I can't go no more.